All around the village, snowflakes fall softly in the night. The stars shine brightly, the half-moon illuminating the frosted fir trees and the snow-covered houses, columns of smoke rising from their chimneys. Inside, the promise of soft lights and warm food, hot cocoa and steaming mugs and cookies fresh out of the ovens. Families gathered by the glowing fire, singing songs and telling stories of Christmases past. Old couples bicker lovingly over their decorations. Newly married couples have unprotected sex, hoping for a present from the stork come next Yule time. Under the snow, the flowers of springtime slumber. The mice and the foxes in their warm dens, sleeping through the long cold months, yearning for the day that they pop their little heads out of the snow and engage in horrific, violent acts of carnality and murder, viciously slaughtering their targets, feasting on their innards, scattering ruby droplets of steaming blood across the ivory snowbank. But for now, they slumber. As the night wears on, the fires burn low. Old Saint Nick commits his questionable acts of home invasion, and all the good little boys and girls go to sleep. But in the night, there are still two voices peeping out. Two little sing-song voices talking about penises and buttholes, singing out the joy of the holidays into their little microphones. Two creatures still stirring on Christmas Eve, Riley and Patrick, and they sing the Yuletide carol of Delete Everything.
Yay! Oh, I've never been part of a Christmas story before.
That's pretty good.
It
How
was
long
a
did it
good
take
one.
me to write that? 6 minutes, 7 minutes?
Something like that.
Not
Yeah.
bad, not bad.
It wasn't bad.
I keep doing that. I keep forgetting to do intros, and then like I have to furiously type out some bullshit.
Like while I'm sitting here waiting to, well, usually sitting here finishing
And it's
show
just like
notes.
and then it always turns out to be pretty fucking cool, actually.
Oh my God.
Turns out when I don't edit, I'm kind of funny.
Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Crimbus.
Welcome back to Delete Everything Podcast, our special little gift under your tree. Is it history? Is it comedy? Yeah, it is. It's both of them.
I don't know. It's from your father.
I'm your host, Patrick Wall, and with me, as always, my little elf on the shelf.
Riley Bowen.
Cheers. As always, a quick thank you to anyone and everyone who left us 5 stars rating. If you left us a review, you guys are our heroes. Thank you so much. To anyone wondering what to get us for Christmas, that's the only thing on our list. Hit those little 3 dots on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, Audible, whatever you're listening to. Give us 5 stars. If you can, leave us a rating. Or I'm sorry, a rating. That is what I'm talking about was a rating, right?
Yeah.
Leave us a review if you can. That would be incredible too. You can tell us anything you want, and we will love it. We have a review on Apple Podcast, actually, that says our voices aren't annoying. So,
What?
So the bar is low.
When did that happen?
The bar is low. Actually, it's a very nice review. Ridick135. Ridick.
Riddick?
Redic.
Oh, because I was thinking
Like
the Chronicles of Riddick.
No. Like the first 5 letters in ridiculous. No, that would be Ridic. Ridick. Ridick135. Either way, thank you for...
dick and then you re-dick.
Thank you. You dick before, you quit, and now you're redicking. So yeah, thank you for saying that our voices aren't annoying. I appreciate it.
I don't agree.
Hey, speaking of Christmas gifts, you guys got a bonus episode last Thursday, and you're getting another one this Thursday, which will technically be the day after Christmas, but. We are giving you a couple of our more ridiculous Patreon episodes to listen to, so you can see how absurd we get when there's no research or time limit or anything. Just kind of hit record and go.
Oh, was that the one? Just fucking.
I don't know which one I know. So I know that. You know what? It'll be a surprise.
Yeah. Who gives a shit?
It's going to be a surprise.
I want to point out quickly that neither of us are Christians, and our acceptance of Christmas is like the mainstay holiday is purely arbitrary and cultural. But in general, happy whatever the fuck else to anybody else.
I just like seeing my family and hanging out.
Yeah, Christmas is fine.
Pretty cool family.
I don't know. My Christmases have always been steeped in horror and pain.
I'm sorry. Do you need a second?
No, I'm good.
Kind of staring
No, I'm
off into the distance. If you guys want to send us a message, you could say hello, Merry Christmas, offer show suggestions, tell us that we've sired a secret love child with you, you name it. You can send us a message on deleteeverythingpodcast@gmail.com. We will respond to you.
You know what I want for Christmas?
We'll say hello back. We'll say Merry Christmas back. We'll say, that's not my baby. Stuff like that.
I ain't never touched that bitch.
What do you like for Christmas?
I would like a copy of the compendium of the comic book series 7 to Eternity by Rick Remender. If anyone's listening.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to get you that.
It's so good.
By the way, if we love your show suggestion, we will put it on our topic list and we will shout you out when we record it. So all good things if you send us a message, other than that ain't my baby. But
yeah,
we've also got some social media and other ways of supporting the show that we will, as always, talk about at the end of the episode. So
reminds me that's that clip from like Cat Williams. Some movie is like, that is not my baby.
That is a Caucasian baby.
That is from the Isles of the Caucasus.
From the mountains of Caucasus. Oh my God. Today we're talking about Christmas. Why do we do it? Where do some of these traditions come from? Why does my aunt always buy me sexy underwear and sheer fabric robes?
Somebody's got to.
What's happening? What's going on?
Yeah, my grandmother, Ruby Bowen, R.I.P. She's a nice lady. To me, it's kind of a dirty bitch to other people, but to me,
Really?
she was great. Yeah, my mom didn't like her very much.
Both of my grandmothers were absolute heaven-sent angels. They were some of the sweetest women, not just to their grandchildren, but to everyone. I lucked out because I remember being in like third grade and having my friend in third grade, this kid named Doug, tell me about how much of a bitch his grandmother was. And I was like, wait, I thought grandmas were supposed to be the most sweet people on earth.
I loved my grandparents.
Yeah.
Like I adored my grandmothers especially. But I was blessed with a
Giant
loving
Sorry.
I was going to talk about my mother there, actually. But I was blessed with a loving, thoughtful mother who was not at all a cranky old bitch.
Never. Nor would you ever call her one.
But she definitely, I was like, growing up, I was always aware of the fact that not everyone saw my grandparents in the same light of joy and as I did as a child. For instance, my mom would always comment on how she was raised Catholic, or she was Catholic growing up. My grandparents on my dad's side were Lutheran.
Oh,
and she would talk about how
that Martin Luther guy had some complaints.
Yeah, some stuff. So there was a little bit of tension when she was at the holiday table. In particular, there's I don't know if you know about this. When you serve a turkey in some the Protestant or Lutheran households, they would refer to that clump of fat at the turkey tail as the Pope's nose. Because I guess the joke is that it's up a turkey's ass. I don't get it. But that's definitely not a joke you'd make in front of a Catholic.
You can make it in front of me, although I'm not a practicing Catholic.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I have been baptized and confirmed.
So you get little details like that as you grow up.
I'm eligible to receive communion. I have not been excommunicated yet.
God, I think I have. I hope.
Who knows though? If the Pope listens to any of these episodes, I mean,
Pope can kick rocks. I don't care. But yeah. So growing up, I was well aware of all these little That's the word I'm looking for. Little different angles to look at. Nuances.
Religious nuancey bullshit.
And then
is what I would call it.
On my mom's side of the family, I had like 36 cousins. She had 9 brothers and sisters. They all got married at least once.
God damn.
Fucking gigantic family. So, growing up,
I say that like my grandmother wasn't one of 16 children. Yeah. So
well, it seemed like the majority of the people I was growing up with in that family had a little bit more of like a big happy family feel than I did, but I've always been one of those guys observing like the weird interactions between people, and, differential groups and shit like that. So, yeah, I forgot where I was going with that.
Oh well, Christmas.
My grandparents were fine.
Good. As were mine. So before we jump in, it has been a ridiculously long week. For me, at least. I know you mentioned that you were we have had some sort of like social, I've never had a busier Christmas season than this year. For some reason, we have had something every single evening, family gatherings, school shit, fucking after school hobby shit for the kids.
I've been pretty busy, but I'm kind of always really busy.
I mean, it's like every evening. So it's like work all day and then like rush home, change real quick, and get the fuck out the door because we have to be at, one of our kids' middle school holiday concerts by
Kids are a real
7:30.
drag on Christmas.
Yeah. I don't hate it. It's just I'm fucking exhausted, and then and then it's like, okay, well, I gotta fucking edit this episode, and I'm gonna pass out 30 minutes into it for sure because it's already fucking 12:30 at night. But
To illustrate how busy actually we are, directly after we finish recording this, I'm going to drive for 6 hours.
and I have to go to yet another Christmas party.
Oh, nuts!
So, yeah, I mean, well, listen, it's right. In retrospect, it's not so bad, especially compared to driving 6 hours to South Carolina. But I'm not a social person.
No. Fucking me neither. I get you.
I'd rather just go home, is what I'm saying. I'd rather just go home, but it is what it is. Plus, I get my Christmas bonus today, so.
Ooh, Christmas bonus.
Yeah. So, but we do apologize.
Can I borrow $100?
Last week, no. Steal my children's Christmas presents. That's the only way you're getting it. So last week's episode was a little bit short. This episode will probably be a little bit short, but you are getting bonus episodes, so suck my balls.
Getting boners episodes.
Jesus.
Can we do that from now on? Every time we put out a bonus episode, can we call it a boners episode?
Boners episode.
That's it. That's canonical.
No, it's not. I don't like it.
Yeah, you didn't like Patreon Piddlies either, and that's sticking around.
It has stuck around. At the beginning of every Patreon episode, Riley starts going, beedly. That's what he does. And from, I think, the first Patreon episode where we were like trying to figure out what we're going to call Patreon episodes. And I said, I don't know, something else with a P, Piddlies, poodles.
And I was like, boom.
And Riley was like, no,
That's it.
Piddlies, it's Piddlies. And I was like, I
Piddlies.
don't want it to be Piddlies.
It is now.
And it's still Piddlies, Patreon Piddlies. So, are you ready for this?
Boom, 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 down, 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 down. I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Are y'all ready for this?
Down, 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 down.
Did you have any movies that you watched
Did I have any movies
for Christmas, like every year Christmas movie?
That's actually a pretty good question. I mean, like, there's always, I had cable growing up for kind of in and out. With 1 year I had cable when we were dead.
So you always watched A Christmas
like
Story.
A Christmas Story,
was on all fucking day
or
long.
fucking National Lampoon's Christmas.
Yeah.
Hot take coming from me. I don't like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Never have.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it's very funny.
I think mostly
because I fucking hate Chevy Chase.
Well, I think but I mean, it's all of the vacation movies are kind of meant to paint Chevy Chase in like the shittiest light. Like, he is who he is. He's just kind of an asshole.
Yeah, but it's
He's a
weird.
self-centered fucking prick.
But it's what a weird person to hang your hat on as, like, like National Lampoon was like this ostensibly one of the funniest magazines that's ever been released. It's hugely counterculture. And they really fucking hung their name on Chevy Chase. Like, after fucking Caddyshack, they were like, oh, this is the guy.
Well, yeah.
It was weird because he's a talentless moron.
And he's a self-centered prick.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Well
He sucks.
documented fucking dickhole. So yeah, we used to watch Vacation every year. Earlier today, your wife was saying that her Christmas movies were Mary Poppins and Singing in the Rain. Yeah. Singing in the Rain, which made me realize that Allison has told me that every year they used to watch Xanadu. And so our wives were just watching entirely non-Christmas related musicals every Christmas.
Honestly, that's just kind of weird. It makes me wonder.
And a lot of Gene Kelly.
Yeah, just Gene Kelly. That's a lot of Gene Kelly.
Gene
and
Kelly.
You have Singing in the Rain, prime Gene Kelly, and then Xanadu with skateboarding old man Gene Kelly. What the fuck's going on here? Mary Poppins kind of makes sense. It's got this Dickensian sort of like, oh, hey, governor, kind of, magic.
There's nothing Christmas about it.
Nothing Christmas about it
Maybe
at all.
just the fact that it's a musical makes it kind of Christmassy.
I guess. I mean, I do recall during Thanksgiving.
There is a lot of just singing with other people.
Like growing up
choreographed
during
singing
Thanksgiving,
during Christmas.
like TNT would play like a marathon marathon of like fucking Wizard of Oz, and that was like Wizard of Oz was like a Thanksgiving movie. It was on every year.
Yeah.
And I never really got that. I think it's kind of like a conflagration of like cable channels not really having anything to do on holiday programming, so they're like, yeah, we'll put up fucking
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was my Thanksgiving movie.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like I guess if I was gonna say there was like a Christmas movie that make like in my head feels
Home
like
Alone too. I feel like I watched Home Alone a lot of years.
right, yeah,
for Christmas.
I think when I think of like a movie I would have watched as a kid on Christmas, it's like Ghostbusters.
On Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh well, they did. Yeah, the first one does take place.
Yeah, it's the winter
during
time,
Christmas. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, so it goes, but like also I was looking it up. One of the things that was like kind of tradition in my family, and I think it's tradition in a lot of families, is like go out to a movie on Christmas. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like after the movie.
Wait, was it Ghostbusters 1 or Ghostbusters 2 that takes place during Christmas? It's 1, right?
Fuck me, I don't know.
Or is it 2?
All right, okay. Here's an interesting question. It's gonna have to be maybe it is 1 because there's a lot of people in winter clothes, and
there's a scene where like everybo's singing.
That's 2.
That's 2.
But that's not a Christmas song.
But they're singing Louie Louie or something?
They're singing Bustin' Makes Me Feel Good. No, they're singing that song.
That's not the titular track for Ghostbusters 2. Ghostbusters 2 titular track is the Bobby Brown song. Yeah.
We got. This song's kind of fucking a jam, actually. I prefer Bustin' Makes Me Feel Good.
Bustin' Makes Me Feel Good is
one of my most said things in life. What the fuck? I know what song they sang in Ghostbusters 2 to make the Statue of Liberty dance. Your love.
That's right. I knew it was something. I thought Louie Louie, but I knew it was something that's sort of that same. Yeah. All right. So let's get into Christmas, shall we?
Hold on, but I was gonna say, it's like one of my traditions with my family, because you know it's just a fucking movie family, and my whole life has always just been fucking movies.
Sure.
We'd go to a new release, and that's still something that happens. Like releases on Christmas are a big deal. Like, I think they're releasing Nosferatu this year.
They are.
Yeah, on Christmas. You know.
Yeah, we did that a few years. I think by that point I was older, and that was like a big friend group. We would all go and watch, like, see the new release movie in the theater, like after everybody was done with the Christmas stuff.
Yeah, for us it was just like there's nothing to do on Christmas, but let's keep this party rolling. You know? And I mean, I gotta say, I grew up wouldn't be like an idyllic Christmas setting really, because it was just outside of Detroit. There was lots of snow, lots of Christmas lights. You know, this was very Midwestern.
Yeah, I get it.
You know, pretty classic all around. A lot of sweaters and fires and shit.
A lot of fir trees covered in snow.
Yeah, exactly. So, but movies that were released over the years on Christmas include Ghostbusters in 1984.
Really? Yeah,
like E.T. in 82, Ghostbusters in 84, Back to the Future in 85. Like the big movies that you remember. You know, Back to the Future 2, Godfather 3, Hook, shit like that.
Was Avatar a Christmas release?
As a matter of fact, it was.
It was, wasn't it? I remember going and seeing that.
Still, so let's see. Avatar: The Way of Water is released in 2022 on Christmas.
Well, nobody cares about that one.
There's another one. The first one got released on Christmas as well.
Yeah. I remember seeing that when it came out.
Yeah, there's a shitload of them. My favorite one, I think, is Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. If anyone remembers that, that was cool. But also, most importantly, the most important Christmas releases of all.
Go on.
Lord of the Rings. All three.
Oh, yeah.
All three of them.
That was one that I went every single time. Christmas release.
Yeah. 2001, 2002, 2003.
Again, big group of friends. After all the Christmas stuff was done, we'd all get together, midnight showing of Lord of the Rings.
Hell yeah.
So Christmas Eve.
And I still, I guess, like, I don't really have like a traditional Christmas movie thing to watch, but I mean, I'll fucking every year I watch the Lord of the Rings extended editions. We just talked about that.
I'm not watching fucking Xanadu, I'll tell you that much.
Olivia Newton-John.
Okay, fine.
The only Xanadu I'm going to be watching is Rush's Xanadu.
Jesus Christ. So, Christmas. Yeah?
So this is Christmas.
I don't want to get super into like the origins of Christmas vis-a-vis like what time of year Jesus was actually born, if we're going by the events in the Bible, or if Jesus was born, or, you know, the winter solstice and Mithra and the God of the Unconquerable Sun, etc.
Here on the God of the Unconquerable Sun, I like that.
God of the Unconquerable Sun was a
fucking
Roman
dope ass metal band.
Yeah, Roman. Sun, S-U-N, not S-O-N.
S-U-N-N.
is a band.
Hey yo, somebody got that. But yeah, like
It was me. I'm right here.
the fucking Christmas traditions that everybody like, the Christmas story that everybody knows is not in our wheelhouse. We do we deleted histories here. We talk about uncommon shit.
Listen, there's a lot of liturgical calendar stuff at this time of year specifically, and it's all kind of stuff that was Roman holiday stuff, which was arguably co-opted from the Greeks and the Egyptians and the Persians, etc.
I guess it's arguable.
That the Christians then co-opted as religious holidays. Not saying anything bad about it. It just is what it is.
Crazy to think about how time and distance permute stories. Who'd have thunk it?
Either way, that's not what we're here to talk about anyway. So we are here to discuss where our holiday traditions come from and not necessarily the holiday itself. So hopefully I haven't chased anyone away by questioning Jesus' birth or saying that your holidays were co-opted from pagans. If you're still here, then let's start with the number one Christmas symbol worldwide.
Hold on, I know this one. I don't know this one. Christmas tree.
It is. It's the Christmas tree. I was going to say it's a toss-up between two things, Christmas tree and Santa. But yeah, the Christmas tree. So, by the way, I'd be interested to know how many countries don't even have a climate that allows like anything that even fucking resembles a Christmas tree to grow.
I mean, like, we kind of live in like,
here.
Yeah, in Florida, like, they have fir trees, but they're not like coniferous firs.
No, we
have
big ass pine trees that grow not in any way like a fucking fir, like your classic.
You look at like the green band of like your classic fir trees, and it goes all the way around the world, but it's at a certain latitude that's like north of
way north of us,
like north of the Canadian border. Even, really, to get like the real good ones. The ones that are lower, like I'm from Michigan, you know, like you could grow those kind of like Tenenbaum-esque fir trees lower, but that's really not a natural occurrence.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You get fir trees everywhere. They're the most prolific. Outside of grass, they are the most prolific
for sure,
like plant you're going to find in the world.
For sure. It's just funny because it's so, again, you know, and I've talked about this a bunch of times. Growing up being half Brazilian and being in Brazil every summer, it's funny because the other weird thing is if you live in the southern hemisphere, you celebrate Christmas in the summer.
Yeah.
And like we
got
have
a big old Jesus up there.
We have this whole thing like this, like American Christmas tradition of like snow and trees and, you know, stockings in the fireplace, not in the fire, on the fire, on the fireplace. And like, we just have this very, like, if you think of like your traditional, like Christmas card photo Christmas, you know what I mean? To me, it's I'm out in the yard, there's snow on the ground, I'm looking through a window with Christmas lights on the house, and there's a fucking fireplace, and I can see the tree, and I can see the stockings, and that's Christmas, baby. You know, and like if you live in, I don't know, let's call it Brazil, you celebrate Christmas in the fucking summer, goddamn middle of the summer.
Yeah, well, cool.
It's just funny. It's funny how traditions work.
They're doing a different kind of snow.
Yeah, you're dead heat of the summer. There are no fucking fir trees growing anywhere. And Merry Christmas.
I mean, it's where I grew up in the Midwest. Like Christmas is so utterly traditional, and Detroit as well is a city that even with like all the depression and the fucking the horrible shit that's happened there. It is steeped in like the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Like there's a lot of like neon signs and old factories, and like it's got this very almost Dickensian kind of like like old like school retro kinda, Christmas feel, and you know, like people cultivate that like still to this day. Like, I know people that will get the Christmas lights that are like the old school big fat Christmas lights instead of like those little skinny guys. You know, like just to make their house look
my wife
just to make their house look a little more retro, you know, like that old school. It's you know, there was definitely,
you've seen her decor style too. It's very fits right in with the big giant bulb Christmas lights. That's what we've got.
What did I say? It was not postmodern, it was new century modern.
Yeah probably.
I
don't know.
It
gets very muddled.
I'm usually pretty good at that.
Yeah, this is very fucking muddled. All the mid-century, new century, fucking. Well, I mean, I guess mid-century modern is real easy to point out. But.
Yeah, new century is just gonna be like 1900, 1925.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, at any rate, that's
Obviously, New Century Modern would bring it up to a more contemporary aesthetic,
Sure.
kind of a sheen and a polish. But like you're still looking at like a 20s and 30s kind of thing.
yeah, that's very much her fucking design style. So
Now, New Century Colonial, that's a whole different deal. That's more of a Thanksgiving sort of thing. You know, we talked about that.
oh my god. Okay, so back to where fucking trees grow and don't. By the way, evergreens have a bit of history in religion, like across multiple religions, it turns out. So the palms used in Egypt to celebrate the sun god Ra were said to be evergreens.
Well, I mean, yeah, but evergreen is just a tree that...
So if you look at the history of Christmas and where it came from, so again, the Romans used to use evergreen wreaths to celebrate Saturnalia, which is like a late December holiday celebrating Saturn, the god of all agriculture, and it would happen around the winter solstice when the days start to get longer, right? So evergreens have this like long history in various religions as being symbolic with like renewed life after this cold, dark winter. You know, this thing is still alive, and you know, it's and everything's going to be alive soon, right?
Along with evergreens, I mean, there's look at the stuff that we've got as part of the symbology of Christmas. You know, like juniper berries and
Symbology.
That is the actual
That is,
term.
yeah, I
That is
know,
the term.
I know.
That
But it's hard.
symbolism.
It's hard not to do a Boondocks. God, it's such a terrible movie. It's hard not to quote Boondock Saints on that.
Symbolism.
The word you're looking for is symbolism.
Yeah, we're using like juniper berries and stuff like that. Like all those the red, like pop of color. Those are perennial. You know, those are like that's color that's going to be in the darkest depths of
Yes,
winter. You know,
yeah,
these are things
yeah.
that light up. So like the evergreen idea. I mean, if we're talking about the Romans using a form of evergreen, the Egyptians using a form of evergreen, these are different plants. They're different trees.
They are.
You know,
But they are evergreen.
they're always green. So
they're-
you know,
right.
even in the Egyptian sense,
And so, like, sun god Ra was like a winter time.
Uh-huh.
You know, that was to sort of celebrate the winter solstice. Same with Saturnalia in the Roman Empire. So these are all, and again, like I said earlier, with sort of Christianity co-opting these things, like even if you believe in Jesus, you know, there's plenty of evidence out there as far as like, okay, the fucking like shepherds in the winter, like the Romans conducted a census where everybody has to go back to their place of birth in the winter time. Like, you know, that star wouldn't have been in the sky in the winter time.
I mean,
Like,
there's
a
always,
lot of
it's
things
just
where it was like
the permutation.
probably
of those,
he was born in the spring, but you know,
those permutations of those kind of stories are always wacky anyway.
Yeah.
Like we're so heavily imbued with this like the snowy imagery of Christmas. But at the same time, you know, like you think of like the three wise men, they're fucking showing up on camels
Right,
coming
right.
through the desert.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like it's a weird disconnect in many ways on how we see
in an area of the world
Christmas.
that does not get snow, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
So
You
okay.
know, the closest place that gets snow to where Jesus would have been born would be the mountains of Afghanistan.
Yeah, they get it. So when did this whole evergreen thing get sort of become part of modern Christmas celebration, right? When did it enter the modern zeitgeist of, hey, Christmas?
Hey, Christmas.
Hey, Christmas. So the first documented Christmas tree dates back to at least 1419, right? When a guild in the jolliest land you know, Freiburg, Germany,
Oh yeah.
decorated an
That's so
outdoor
jolly.
Yeah, we decorated an outdoor tree with apples and gingerbread and wafers and tinsel. Please have fun.
Enjoy yourselves.
Enjoy the celebration of our Lord.
Hold on. Hold on.
Yeah, you're gonna do it.
I'm gonna have to do it.
Okay, you ready? Yeah, I'm going to tell you what you're saying. Apples, gingerbread, wafers, and tinsel.
I've got my own.
Oh, no, you have your own?
The tree is a symbol of joy, hope, and happiness for the children. But it is, in fact, a bloated corpse dressed with the leavings of its murderers. So we decorated with apples and gingerbread and wafers and tinsel so that you turn a blind eye to the suffering. The tree screams in horror.
Oh, God. Okay, so that was in 1419, right? So by the 1530s, the first known market for Christmas trees had surfaced in Strasbourg, which is now part of France, but was part of Germany at the time, right? The demand apparently, so this is like over 100 years from the first one, but the demand apparently started to threaten like the local forest, and so they were just deforesting so many trees. So they enacted some ordinances to at first like just limit each household to one small tree at Christmas. Mm-hmm. Freiburg, by the way, the city that originated this, attempted to ban the practice completely. So if they had been successful, we might not have Christmas trees today, because this is back in the 1530s.
Do you think that's what Leonard Skinner was referencing when they wrote that famous song Freiburg?
Freiburg, yeah. Freiburg.
Because I'm
free
a
as a bird.
Tree and a bird.
So yeah, Freiburg tried to outlaw it or ban it completely, but the popularity of the Christmas tree kept growing in Germany. There was another guild. I'm not sure what these guilds are that sponsor these trees, but there was another guild-sponsored tree.
I don't know what's going on with these tree guilds.
What are these guilds doing?
Sounds like elves to me.
Listen, guild in Germany sounds like the beginning of some rumblings that, you know.
I mean, 15 something. It just makes me think of like fucking like Skyrim. Just get these Bavarian villages you wander into that just sell these ritualized trees. You're paying with gold. Like,
but yeah, so there was another guild-sponsored tree in Brennen, which is in northern Germany, in 1570. So the shit's, you know, the popularity never waned once it started getting there. So there is also a legend that 16th century reformer Martin Luther was the first to decorate an indoor tree with candles after being inspired by the nighttime stars, but there's not any documentation to back that up, so I mean, doubt it.
He was big on hanging stuff on things.
Well,
ladies and gentlemen, that was a very good Martin Luther joke.
That was a good Martin Luther joke. If you don't know what we're talking about, look it up.
Look it up.
He hung a thing on another thing. And
he's big on hanging stuff on things.
So, like I said, there's no documentation on the whole Martin Luther thing. What we do know is that the first documented decorated indoor tree was in Strasbourg in 1605.
It really fucking changed the game with that one, huh?
And its branches were filled with wafers, paper roses, apples, and sugar ornaments.
Oh, the leavings of a capitalist society hungry for the degradation of our natural history.
So this is a decidedly German tradition, right? They even got Martin Luther in the mix here. This is like German, right? By the end of the 1700s, with all of the royal marriages going on between Germany and England, we start seeing this tradition move westward, right? Matter of fact, in 1800, King George III, who was married to a German noble, had the first decorated tree inside of Windsor Castle.
Ooh.
So, yeah. So, and this keeps boogieing over. That's 1800.
I think of, like, contextually stuff like that, like the first time that, like, a German tree's hung in Windsor Castle. You think there are, like, a couple people, like, in the palace, like, spit on the ground.
Yeah.
I'll be long dead before the Germans invade my holidays.
Savage land with savage traditions.
What do they know of the Christ? Nothing.
Worshipping trees.
Oh my God. So by 1951, a clever fella by the name of Mark Carr, that's his whole name, owned and operated the first Christmas tree market in Lower Manhattan. This is the first one in the U.S. He was from upstate New York. He opened this up in Manhattan. And by...
Come on down to Mark Carr's Christmas trees.
Yeah.
Lower East Side. We're selling them like crazy.
Well, by the...
You want good wood? You come to Mark Carr.
Jesus Christ.
We're marking down all the prices.
By the way, I apologize. I said 1951. It was 1851.
Well, that's a different voice from Mark Carr then. Hold on. 1851 New York. 1851 New York. Fuck. Hold on, I can do this.
It was still, there was still some, you know what, there was an American,
like
the pronunciation was American, but the enunciation was still very British. It was still very town crier.
War. I mean, I would just be.
No, this is pre-Civil War. 1851?
1851?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 1863 Civil War.
Yeah,
Right? Okay.
1861 to 65.
Okay, so that would be Daniel Day-Lewis in Gangs of
Yeah,
New York.
yeah. Oh.
Whoopsie daisy, come on down to my car's trees.
Come get yourself a Christmas tree.
Come be a real American.
Okay. By the late 1800s, the U.S. started having its own conservation concerns after years of demand for these trees outweighing the supply. So that led to the first Christmas tree farm planted by W.V. McGalliard in 1901, New Jersey. And do you want to do a W.V. McGalliard?
What year?
He was in New Jersey and in 1901.
New Jersey, 1901.
I'm W.V. McGalliard. Look at this Christmas tree farm. I made a whole farm. No more supply and demand issues.
Hey, look, you want your tree? Come on down. It's right off the Jersey Turnpike.
Bring a saw.
You get off the train in Hoboken, you hoof it on down. And
We don't need to discuss artificial trees, right? Is artificial tree revolution need to be
no,
part of
I
this?
think I'm
an artificial tree guy. I've got my artificial tree up right now.
I have had many of them over the years, and I'll use one for like 2 years,
Yeah.
and then I'll go for the third year, and I'll put it up, and it'll look like shit, because like I'm not a fucking interior decorator. I don't know how to make this thing look like a fucking tree. What am I, an elf?
You got to put
And
it up right.
I just get mad and throw it away. So I get like 3 years out of it. That last year looks like shit. Back of it, I don't even primp.
You got to put it, when you put it away after Christmas, you have to put it away correctly.
I grew up with the same artificial tree my whole life.
Did you?
Yeah, pretty much from the time I was born until we moved when I was like 15.
My mom is for a Brazilian woman, she's a weird Christmas traditionalist.
Yeah.
Real tree every year.
Interesting.
She's a real tree lady.
Assimilation's like that.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I guess if I was going to assimilate myself into like a culture and like fucking really get the grip of that culture's traditions, I'd want to do it for real. You know, if I go to if I go to Japan, I don't want to do like pseudo-American Japanese Christmas. You know, I'd want like whatever they do.
I don't know.
Big chopstick. I don't know.
Everyone decorate the chopstick. I'm sorry. The voice was not racist. Everyone decorating a chopstick, kind of racist.
I was gonna draw the line at big chopstick. That was I thought that was good, but I see there was more.
I'll argue this to the ends of the earth. If I do an accurate imitation of someone from another area speaking the English language, it's not racist. That's just what they sound like.
I would.
No, if I put it on and like made it real, like you said something like "everyone decorate the giant chopstick," then that's racist because that's just racist.
I could just go like if I really wanted to do like traditionalist Japanese Christmas, I would just execute a Christian. That's going back there, guys. That's going way back.
Wowzers. Okay.
Okay, so to understand the context.
Nope. No, we don't need to.
Listen, Japan is an isolationist country for hundreds of years.
Yeah. Not so much anymore.
It was Christianity did not take root in Japan very easily.
Nope.
See the book and film Silence for reference to that.
See the Portuguese trying to establish trade in Japan post-Edo period.
The book or film Silence.
Yes. So, on to the next thing. The next thing that's most synonymous with Christmas, right, which was Santa Claus, is still Santa Claus. It hasn't changed. So the legend of Santa Claus can be traced back hundreds of years to a monk named Saint Nicholas. I'm pretty sure everybody knows that. Most people, I don't think, know that Nicholas was born sometime around 280 AD in modern-day Turkey.
What?
Saint Nicholas was a Turkish guy.
Cool.
Yeah. You don't think about that, right?
No.
Just like white Jesus. There are.
We're always swapping. It's even.
There's a lot of legends surrounding Saint Nicholas. There's one about how he gave away all of his inherited wealth. So apparently he inherited a lot of money and he just traveled the countryside helping the poor and sick. There's another, like one of the more popular ones is about a time that he saved 3 poor sisters from being sold into slavery or prostitution by their father by providing them with a dowry so they could be married. So I guess dad's too poor to provide a dowry. You're either going to be slaves or prostitutes, girls. Sorry. Saint Nick jumps in, says, "I got you. Here's a dowry for each of them. Go get them married off."
Traditional shit back in the day is bonkers.
Brutal. Jesus.
Like, I don't have any money. I'm going to have to sell my children as prostitutes.
Right.
Nuts.
Oh my God.
No options here.
So, over the centuries, St. Nicholas became one of the more popular and venerated saints, right? His feast day is December 6th, which is the date of his death. And that was widely celebrated even after the Protestant Reformation, where praying to saints was like much less popular. Like after the Reformation, it was like, it's still a thing. You hear like people who grew up Protestant saying like, I don't understand Catholics like with all the saint stuff, you know?
Right. Well, me growing up Catholic, I had a range of like favorite saints. I really like Saint Jude. Is the patron saint of lost causes or hopeless causes. I always thought that was great. You know the story of
the Beatles wrote a song about him.
You know the story of Danny Thomas and St. Jude's Children's Hospital?
I do not.
Danny Thomas was an actor.
The guy who started Wendy's.
No, that's Dave Thomas.
I know.
Not to be confused with Dave Thomas from SCTV. We can do this all day.
No, I don't want to.
He's Canadian. Don't worry about it.
You have to drive.
Yes, I do. Okay, so Danny Thomas was an actor. He's on like Life with Father, some shit in the 50s and 60s. He prayed to St. Jude to be successful, and if he could be successful, that he would build a children's hospital.
Really?
Yeah. So he got very successful. So he founded St. Jude's Children's Hospital, and St. Jude is the patron saint of hopeless causes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, pretty cool story. I've always liked St. Christopher, who was the patron saint of travel. But he was decanonized. I think he might be back now. But he's like more popular than ever because he was decanonized. They were like, nah, it's not a saint anymore. So like a bunch of people when that happened were like, fuck that.
Fuck you, man.
It's Tom Waits wrote that song. It's hang on, St. Christopher.
Oh,
pass it aside.
It's always got to be a Tom Waits reference.
Yeah, he's got a couple of references. I've lost my St. Christopher now that I've kissed her. Yeah. But I've always been a fan of that one. There's a myriad of saints for all seasons.
There are a lot of them.
Yeah.
If you go down the list, there's a bunch you haven't even heard of.
Yeah, I like Saint Michael was an angel.
Yeah.
Straight up, not even
Saint
a person.
Michael the Archangel.
Straight up an angel. They're like, yeah, he can be one too. But I like that one because he kicked the devil in the face and held a sword at his throat or some shit. Had a cool pendant that I think an old girlfriend stole.
I think that's supposed to keep you safe, right?
Yeah.
Saint Michael,
Yeah.
I think that's a big Catholic thing.
That's a good one.
Wear a necklace of Saint Michael around your neck.
I had one for a long time.
Yeah. All right. Well, so how the fuck did this dude, Nicholas, who was a saint from Turkey, get over here, right? And also, how did he become Santa Claus?
He got over here on a slave flying reindeer.
Well, okay. So the latter question is the easiest one to answer. So Santa Claus is an evolution of an evolution of his name, right? Saint Nicholas in Dutch is Sint Nicolaas, but the Dutch developed this cutesy little nickname for him, and Sint became Sinter, and Nicholas became Klaas. So Sint Nicholas became Sinterklaas, and then by way of
Sinterklaas. Barely know her, Klaus.
So easy peasy. That's how we got that. As for how he got to the U.S., you will recall that New York was originally settled by the Dutch. You remember New Amsterdam? There's a yellow-haired girl there.
Yeah, I was down in New Amsterdam looking at this yellow-haired girl. Mr. Jones struck up a conversation with...
That's his penis.
The black-haired flamenco dancer.
That's his pubes.
What are you talking about?
Mr. Jones is his penis.
Mr. Jones is his buddy that he started... we're not going to go into the entire history of the Counting Crows. I can give you the entire... I don't want to do that. The whole breakdown of Mr. Jones by Counting Crows.
It's his penis.
No, it's just a buddy of his that he doesn't see very much
anymore. It's just like the Piano Man is he's in a gay bar.
That is true, but I mean, he just didn't notice that he was in a gay bar. At least Billy Idol, what the hell's his name? Billy Joel. Billy Joel doesn't even...
Toto's Africa is about a man who's been bitten by a werewolf, and he's trying to find out how to cure himself. Listen to the lyrics. I swear to God, it'll all make sense.
Hear the drums echoing tonight. Okay.
Just do it. Do it in your spare time. Listen to it and just think about it. This guy's
Mr. Jones is his friend, and they were coming up together in the music biz. But at a certain point, the singer from Counting
He realized
Crows,
it was his penis. and he was
fucking
like,
God, what the fuck's that guy's name? I talk about him all the time.
Adam something.
Adam Duritz. Adam Duritz starts getting more famous. He leaves Mr. Jones behind, and it's a song about that memory, like that last moment of like camaraderie between two aspiring stars, and then like the melancholy attached to his they're growing apart.
Why did he call him Mr. Jones? Why not just like Danny?
I don't, because fucking Danny and me doesn't sound as good.
Danny Jones and me works. Danny Jones and me.
Maybe you didn't want to call him out too hard. It's a moniker.
How many Daniel Joneses do you
Maybe
think
his name's
exist out
not
there?
fucking
I know a
Jones.
Daniel Jones.
Mr. Jones could be anybody.
Okay, fuck you. As for it being, settled by Dutch, New Amsterdam, so lots of Dutch in the U.S. in the late 1700s, early 1800s would celebrate St. Nicholas's feast day, Sinterklaas. And in 1809, Washington Irving, maybe you've heard of him.
Washington Irving, that is the man who wrote Rip Van Winkle.
Yes.
Along with many other interesting Americana stories.
Also the one with the Headless Horseman.
Yes.
Whatever that.
It's Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman.
Yeah, that's it.
When I was in high school, I was on a quiz bowl team. Quiz bowl is kind of like a team Jeopardy, because I was a fucking fat little nerd boy, and we were in competition. We were for heads in states. Are those states? The regionals. We were in regionals, and we were like head neck and neck with another school. And the last question came out, and it was on the Headless Horseman, and I chimed in too early and said the wrong name.
Damn.
Yeah. I'm going to hold that
What
with
did
me
you
forever.
say?
So the question was like, this character from Washington Irving's, and I like clicked in and I was like, Ichabod Crane. And they're like, ooh, terrorized Ichabod Crane. The guy's name was Brom Bones. I'll always remember that. And I was a sore fucking loser about it. I refused to hold like the second place trophy. I was like, fuck this competition. I was a little dickhead.
What an asshole.
Yeah, I was an asshole.
Well, Washington Irving in 1809 helped to popularize Sinterklaas stories when he referred to St. Nicholas as the patron saint of New York in his book, The History of New York. So,
Patron Saint of New York sounds like a fucking...
I would imagine because...
Sounds like Billy Joel.
It does. I would imagine because Sinterklaas was so popular in Dutch culture, and there was so many Dutch in, we're talking about 1809. So this is still, like, it's not New Amsterdam anymore. It's New York, but there's still a ton of Dutch there. So,
Yeah.
And just in that Northeast area in general. So as his prominence and popularity in the U.S. grew, Sinterklaas was described as everything from a rascal, air quotes, with a blue three-cornered hat, red waistcoat, and yellow stockings, to a man wearing a broad-brimmed hat and a, quote, huge pair of Flemish trunk hose. I don't know what Flemish trunk hose are.
I don't know. It
but
sounds funny, though.
It is. So fast forward to 1822, when an Episcopal minister named Clement Clark Moore wrote a Christmas poem for his three daughters entitled An Account of a Visit from St. Nicholas, which you know as 'Twas the Night Before Christmas.
What? I was riffing off The Night Before Christmas just earlier.
That was Clement Clark Moore wrote that for his daughters, and he was like not he was initially hesitant to publish it because he thought as an Episcopal minister, he thought it was just sort of frivolous. He thought it was just a frivolous, like, it's just a fucking stupid little poem.
He's just hesitant about like writing anything that has any sort of like
I'm a minister.
like
What
a
am-
joyous sort of like
Yeah.
children's whimsy about
Right.
it.
I mean, he could have just owned it and been like,
'Twas
yeah,
the
I'm a
night-
minister and I wrote this beautiful poem, this whimsical, fun Christmas poem for my daughters, and now I'm sharing it with all of you. But
It was the night before Christmas, and all through the house, good children were sleeping or getting beaten. I was actually, when I
with
wrote
stockings full of coal.
when I wrote the intro, I was playing off of the night before Christmas because it's very austere. It's a very quietude based poem.
Yeah.
Like the imagery is all. Yeah.
I mean, the
It's very
imagery
lovely,
is
actually,
very,
yeah.
very, very, I mean, for a fucking minister in 1822, it's a fucking good poem.
It's good. It's mostly a description of a bunch of people being asleep and one guy kind of like tiptoeing.
Yeah. But I mean, his descriptions of the house and everything.
It
the stockings all hung up. And
it evokes like a feeling that I think I associate with Christmas very strongly.
Much. Yes.
Because like winter, especially growing up in a place that had a lot of snow, like it's real quiet outside after it snows. It dampens and muffles everything.
Yeah, of course.
Like just the idea, like the winter quietude and sleepiness before a big holiday. There's a lot of shit.
It gives you 'Twas the Night Before Christmas gives you sort of this warm, fuzzy, like Christmassy feeling. It makes you want to drink hot cocoa. And,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it is a very like quintessential Christmas thing. So this dude was embarrassed though. He, as a matter of fact, he didn't even publish it under his actual name until the 1840s.
Everyone's gonna know I eat candied plums. They're all gonna know I don't beat my children enough.
Right? Talking about visions of sugar plums. Get out of here.
Kids are like, Papa, you must show it to us other children. And he's like, no. Other children get beaten for Christmas.
He was embarrassed by this. He didn't publish it under his actual name until the 1840s. So 20 years after he wrote this, he was publishing it under like a pseudonym. And then finally, in the 1840s, he was like, fine.
I don't want anyone to know I wrote this gay little poem.
Put my poem in there, but
that's hilarious.
But I mean, that poem is largely responsible for our modern image of Santa Claus, right? He's just a right jolly old elf, He's a thick ass boy with a dump truck ass that don't quit, and this magical ability to nod his head and fly up a fucking chimney. So.
Yeah, it's usually predominantly more difficult for voluptuous men to break into your house, especially through chimneys, as illustrated in the fantastic 1990s film Gremlins.
Yeah, but his fucking love Gremlins so much.
Yeah,
that's
that
one
part
of my Christmas
of
movies.
Phoebe Cates talks about her dad trying to break,
and dying in the chimney.
It's fucked up.
It was
a few days later we could smell. God, Jesus.
I know. So he probably borrowed some of the imagery from other sources, but the one thing that his poem really helped to popularize was this image of Santa Claus who flew from house to house on Christmas Eve in a miniature sleigh led by 8 flying reindeer to leave presents for good little boys and girls, right? That was kind of a novel idea at the time. And that poem popularized that, and An Account of a Visit of St. Nicholas created this immediately popular American icon, immediately.
You want to know, this is a true story. The minute I hung on to the Santa Claus thing as a kid a little longer than I probably should have. I was probably 9 or something when I started being like, there's no Santa Claus.
That was probably about 10, so I feel like that's
something like that. But I remember distinctly there was a kid in the class. I can't remember what the kid's name was, but I remember there was a kid in my class. He declared loudly that there was no Santa Claus.
For me, it was my cousin. My cousin who's 2.5 years older than me.
He declared loudly, and somebody was like, he said loudly, and then he went how's he gonna get to every house in the fucking with every house in one night? And somebody says, with the flying reindeer, and he goes where are you gonna get flying reindeer? And the other kid goes I don't know, it's magic. And this kid says
were you in 3rd grade with a bunch of fucking wise guys?
Yeah.
How's he gonna get to every fucking house with the flying reindeer? Where you gonna get flying reindeer? I don't know, man. It's fucking magic, you goomba. Get the fuck out of here. Who did you go to fucking elementary school with?
In my head, everyone's a fat teamster. But I remember this kid being
I own a waste management business.
Somebody says something along the lines of fucking why is he being pulled around by reindeer? And somebody says, 'cause it's magic. And he said, if they're so magic, why does he need 8? And that in my head right then, I stopped believing in Santa Claus, because I was like, why the fuck would you need 8 to pull
Wait
a guy?
till that kid gets a hold of the Bible.
It blew my mind, because I was like, fucking the logic circle there works so well, because he's flying, so all basic rules of weights and balances no longer apply. How fucking magic do you have to be, and what the hell is going on?
I don't know what the towing capacity of one magic
exactly.
reindeer is.
What is the quantifier? How does the speed multiply as you add
how many
reindeer?
presents are
Why
on that
doesn't
sleigh?
he have 10? They were only 8. What the fuck? I saw something earlier that was like, it was very bold of you to assume that after I already knew the names of all the less important reindeer that I wouldn't know Rudolph. But do you recall?
Yeah, the most famous reindeer of all. I mean, Jesus.
So hold on, I knew Dasher and
Dasher and Dancer and Prancer
Donner
and
and Blitzen and Blitz,
Comet and Cupid and
NFL Blitz,
Rudolph and
08 and
Bitchin'.
Bitchin'.
Yeah, he's always wearing wraparound shades.
Yeah. Rudy and Bing Bong and Tommy and Blinson.
Okay, so from when the after this poem comes out in the 20s, right? In this sort of new icon, American icon is born. This new sort of reimagined vision of Santa Claus. It takes off. By the 40s, stores are advertising Christmas shopping with images of this newly popular Santa. Coca-Cola is one of the first to jump on using Santa on their holiday advertisings. And I mean, everybody knows sort of the Coca-Cola Santa.
The classic cherubic, the rosy cheeks and the, obviously a little bit of like alcohol problem. He's got like a rosacea thing going on, a little too portly.
Yep, some capillary burst in his cheeks.
He's got what we call gin blossoms. Yeah.
They commissioned an artist who drew this Coca-Cola image of Santa. The artist that drew it, like the whole image of it came from Clement Moore's description in his poem. So by the 1840s, Philadelphia has a giant Santa statue. In the 60s, we've got department stores advertising live Santas for the kids to meet. In the 1890s, the Salvation Army needed money to pay for the meals they provided to needy families, so they started dressing unemployed men as Santa and having them stand on busy corners asking for donations to the Salvation Army. To this fucking day, you still hear that ringing bell every time you walk to the damn grocery store.
And you go,
Yeah, I know. Actually, that's one of them that I don't feel so bad giving a few bucks to, but from there it just blows up. I mean, you've got your Macy's Day Christmas Parade, giant Santa balloon, Miracle on 34th Street, all these things. Santa Claus just becomes that image of Santa Claus becomes the image of Santa Claus.
Well, but then that one died at a certain point. They had to rebrand. He fell off of Tim Allen's roof, and then Tim Allen took over as the Santa Claus. If anyone recalls that one, so it's a different guy now.
Yeah, the gifts on that sleigh are different.
Yeah,
he's trafficking cocaine again.
Oh, 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 oh.
Oh my God.
He didn't read the contract very well. There have been multiple clauses that he completely omitted. The Mrs. Clause,
God,
the escape clause.
Stupid. How about leaving milk and cookies for Santa? That's a good tradition.
That sounded spoken as somebody who wanted to eat milk and cookies. Hey kids, why don't you leave out some milk and cookies for Santa, and then here we're happy.
100%. First thing I do.
Why don't you leave the traditional Christmas ham and bourbon out for Santa?
So the original roots of this holiday actually go back pretty far, all the way back to ancient Norse mythology.
Oh, yeah?
Odin, the most important Norse god, was said to have
big cookie guy,
an 8-legged horse named Sleipnir. This was Odin's horse. And he would ride Sleipnir with a raven perched on each shoulder during the Yule season. So the whole Yule tradition, the Yule log, all this stuff goes back to like pre-Christian, like pagan, especially north in like the old Norse countries, in northern Germany, all the sort of Arctic, Scandinavian countries.
Right.
And it was sort of like a midwinter celebration, again, a post solstice, and it had a lot to do with like going out and gathering wood. Now that the days were starting to get longer, and then they'd burn a Yule log, and then everybody in the village would kind of sort of come, they'd burn this wood, and there'd be a big celebration. There'd be sacrificial shit and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah. Yeah, the
So-
burning of the Yule log. Be like, hey, well, it'd be a big fire, and we'll slaughter some goats, and maybe sacrifice a couple of our own men, and we'll blood eagle this guy because we didn't like his his public policy in the last season. So and there'll be mead.
Yeah, exactly. So during the Yule season, children would leave out food for Sleipnir in the hopes that Odin would stop by on his travels and leave gifts in return. That's the origin. That's the origin of the
Fucking
tradition.
terrible idea. He is a trickster god. Any gift that he leaves you will be cursed. What the fuck? These children idiots. You don't invite the fucking.
That was Loki. Loki was the trickster.
No, Odin too. Odin is a notoriously like a fucking monkey's paw ass god.
Is he?
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, you don't fuck with Odin. He was like he's super wise.
If you leave stuff for Sleipnir to eat, though, he might look upon you with favor.
I mean, like Odin was wise and clever, but he was also like a fucking dickhead.
Yeah.
That's like
Also, Odin wasn't really doing anything. The parents were, so
how dare you? How dare you malign the Raven God?
So this tradition continued in the Netherlands, where Dutch children would leave shoes out for Sinterklaas to fill with sweet treats.
You must leave your wooden shoes out for sweetlings.
And eventually this made its way, along with Santa himself, around the world. So it actually took off as an American holiday tradition in the 30s during the Great Depression.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of parents tried to teach their
'Cause
children.
everybody was walking around with clogs in the Great Depression. They had wooden shoes.
No, a lot of parents would teach their children that it was important to give to others and to show gratitude for the gifts they were lucky enough to receive on Christmas during the fucking Great Depression. So I, frankly, as a kid, we used to do this, and I always saw it as like a bribe to Santa. I would be like, well, maybe a couple more cookies. Give him a couple more.
Come on, I've been good. I've been pretty
My
good
dad's
this year.
sitting in the recliner looking over like side-eye, and I'm like, yeah, give me more cookies. So I was really just bribing my dad. But yeah, I was always like, give him like a bigger glass of milk and make sure we get the good shit.
Such a shitty parent. Fucking every time I remember distinctly my daughter being like really young, like, we leave milk and cookies out for Santa. I was like, no. He doesn't deserve anything. I was like,
But you get to eat them. Santa doesn't actually eat them, Riley.
I didn't want him. No milk. If he wants to provide a service,
Oh
he's
my
more than
God.
welcome to. But it's not a compulsory tip economy. What the fuck?
I need my milk to be ice cold by the time your ass is asleep in 2 hours. It's going to be not worth it anymore.
What a waste
What am
of
I going to
fucking
put the milk in the freezer? Then it's going to be gross. It's going to taste like freezer air. You know the taste
Yeah.
of freezer air. It's weird.
Nobody wants like refrozen
No,
milk.
no.
Gross.
Let's not with all this. So I
No,
think
Santa's on a diet.
I think it's funny how other like a bunch of other countries are just trying to get Santa drunk. Like we leave milk and cookies, but like British and Australian children leave out sherry and mince pies.
So they're hoping that he gets a little tipsy, fills up on mince pies, falls asleep, and they can rob him.
Swedish kids leave rice porridge, which gross.
Rice porridge?
Yeah, Santa. I think it's just like
Santa have
sweetened. Have you never had rice porridge before?
Yeah, it's like have some slop, you fat hog.
It's like gooey sweetened rice, like not cooked
Like
all
sticky
the way.
rice. Like,
Yeah. Santa can be expected to find a pint of Guinness along with his cookies in Ireland.
Classic. That's good advertising. Coca-Cola and Guinness really got the market.
And French children leave out a glass of wine.
Ooh.
Just wine. Just wine. You don't need anything else. Have some wine. Bring me my gifts.
Wine and a croissant.
It's
It's a baguette. You left out a baguette and a bottle of Burgundy.
So that's Santa. That's Santa Claus and milk and cookies. What else? What are some other good Christmas traditions?
When I was a kid, my brothers and I used to hide a small Yoda figurine around the Christmas tree.
That's like Hide the Pickle.
Yeah, but ours was Yoda.
Do you know how the Hide the Pickle? I actually have that one too.
Yeah. Hide the Pickle was a game that Yoda used to play with Mrs. Yoda.
With Luke.
There's a female Yoda in the council in the Phantom Menace. Her name is
Yeah.
I want to say Baba Yaga. Fuck is her
I don't
name?
think that's it.
Yerba Mate.
Yerba mate. Yerba mate Yoda. Yoda's the surname.
Yoda Mate.
So the tradition of the Christmas pickle is kind of a weird one. This isn't one that I've ever done. Have you ever done the pickle?
No. I mean,
You did a variation.
We did the
You
Yoda, but like
yeah.
it was never. It wasn't attached to some other form of thing. It's not like we're like altering it to be like a pickle thing. It was just we had a fucking Yoda. We had a classic vintage Yoda figurine, which has long since faded off into the fucking recesses of the past. But yeah, you just fucking hide it behind some shit or like up near the base.
Yeah, so this
somebody'd find it.
Right. So the Christmas pickle is supposed to be you have a pickle ornament and you hide it somewhere in the tree. Whoever finds it first gets a gift. Right? They get there's a pickle gift.
Yeah,
And
if you're just a single couple, then whoever finds the pickle gets the pickle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
Her name was Yaddle.
great.
At one point, she was in prison for 100 years and lived solely off of the Force.
How is Yaddle spelled?
Yaddle.
Oh, okay.
This goes hand in hand with my my theory on George Lucas.
Doesn't name things well.
Doesn't name things.
No.
Oh, this is Yoda. All right, what's the lady one? That's Yaddle.
Yoda Yaddle.
Yaddle. Yeah.
So the
Diddly diddly.
the pickle comes from, it's kind of funny. So in the 1880s, Woolworths started selling ornaments, right? And they would import these ornaments from Germany. And some of them, there's mostly like the sort of ball ornaments, and then some of the ones that had like the tapered bottoms. There's fucking traditional glass Christmas ornaments.
Right.
Some of them would be like in the shape of different fruits and vegetables, right? And pickles were one of them. So
That makes sense.
Woolworths gets this giant shipment of fucking Christmas pickles,
Jesus.
of ornaments shaped like pickles. And they were like, how are we going to sell these?
How are we going to market these?
Yeah. How are you going to sell a bunch of ornaments shaped like fucking pickles? Like, so they claimed, Woolworths did, as a marketing campaign, that the Christmas pickle was an old German tradition, and the pickle was the last ornament hung on the Christmas tree, and the first child to find the pickle got an extra present.
So, and every parent goes, "Nah, fuck you," but all the kids see the pickles, they're like, "Let's do it."
Well, what's funny is that like most people in Germany have never heard of the Christmas pickle. They're like, what are you talking about?
Christmas pickle.
Yeah. So, but
On the Tannenbaum?
the tradition persists, with some variations on the story, but there's one where it was like there was a American Civil War guy who was a prisoner, and he was in fucking Bavaria for some reason, and he begged a guard to give him one last pickle before he died.
George Gherkin, yeah.
And and the guard was like took pity on him and brought him a pickle.
The guard killed him immediately.
No, he was like, "Oh, I feel bad. Like, here, have a pickle." And then the pickle gave him like some sort of like fortitude to continue on and living. So there's another one with Saint Nicholas and some Spanish boys. There's like that sounded devious.
There's a German tradition down in Brazil. You get some boys that all look like Hitler.
The one, okay. This one's like supposed to be some medieval story about some two Spanish boys that were traveling home from boarding school. They were coming home for the holidays. They stopped at an inn for the night, and the innkeeper was like this evil guy who killed the boys and put them in a pickle barrel.
Damn.
But then later that night, St. Nicholas stopped at the same inn, and he found the boys in the pickle barrel.
He was going for a late night pickle.
And miraculously brought them back to life. So that's, either way.
I mean, I prefer the title, the two Spanish boys in the pickle. Do you think that when
two Spanish boys in the pickle is not something you want to Google?
Do you think when the kid was being put into the brine, his last thought was like, "Man, we're in a real pickle"?
I knew you were gonna say it. I fucking knew it. Do you want to hear about where candy canes started from?
Yes.
It's an old one. It goes back more than 350 years. Long time ago, 1600s, baby.
Long time ago. That was years and years.
1600s, baby.
Generations back.
The Pilgrims were still wearing buckles. So legend has it that the candy canes all started from a choir master in the Cologne Cathedral in Germany, right? And he developed these as a way to keep the choir boys,
Quiet
from being boisterous during mass, I guess he would be like,
Is
here,
that what they're calling it?
have a peppermint.
Here, put this in your mouth, suck on it, shut up.
Jesus.
What? I didn't
Sounds
say anything.
so much worse. So he started handing out these sugar sticks to the boys in the choir, because these kids were, kids and having trouble being quiet during services.
A little bribe goes a long way.
Yeah, and so they weren't striped at first; they were just white sticks, but they did have the bend in them. And some people say the bend's there to hang it on the Christmas tree. Story is the bend's there to make it look like it's the shape of a shepherd's staff. Because religion. And I guess the world will never know.
You need a bend in it to keep it from going all the way in.
Oh dear, that's
Otherwise, you gotta go. You're probably gonna have to go to the hospital. Maybe not with those. You know what? I'd bet you that they dissolve over time. I think the real danger though would be get those sharp, pointy tips.
Yeah.
You know how when you're sucking on a candy cane for long enough, it becomes like a fucking dagger. They don't give them out in prison.
Have you ever used what's the soap? We did the soap.
Dr. Bronner's.
The peppermint soap.
Yeah, no, it's great. Your whole body feels like it's on fire.
Have you ever gotten it inside your butthole?
Yes. Okay. Interesting story. But I know, I know what you're referring to. Because you get a little, well, how's your father in the shower there? Yeah.
No, imagine a peppermint stick in there.
Oof.
So like I said, they didn't originally have the red and white stripes. In the 1950s, though, they started automating it. Because you've seen them making you got to keep stretching it and folding it over and stretching it and folding it over and
stretch it, you twist it, stretch it, you twist it, you stretch it, you twist it, and then you cut it into these little shardy things.
So then they eventually started doing the red and the white and then integrating them, twisting them, and then that was all automated. So, and then now, you got, I don't even know how many different variations of colors and sizes and flavors and all that stuff.
My least favorite has always been the brown one. It's like the chocolate candy cane.
That's weird.
Yeah, but it's got the brown twist in it. It just aesthetically is not pleasing.
I'm not a candy guy in general. So
I was a big candy guy when I was younger, and you know what? I quit drinking a while ago, and your body processes sugar and alcohol the same kind of way. So I'm back to being a candy guy now.
Are you really?
Yeah. Like I as soon as I mentioned candy, I've got a bag of Mounds over on the table. I'm gonna dig into when we stop recording.
Mounds are delicious.
Yes, they're the best.
I'm more of an Almond Joy guy. I like that little crunch in there. But,
hey, sometimes I feel like a nut.
Yeah, apparently you don't. There's a joke, but
a joke about you.
It was our Patreon episode, so I'm not going to bring it up on this one.
Would we use a you goblin nuts joke in the Patreon episode?
No, but we talked about a specific person who enjoyed
nuts in their mouth.
A lot of
some nut.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
You see where I'm going now?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're gonna have to subscribe to the Patreon if you want to know what we're fucking talking about.
I may have given it away.
So, gingerbread houses. That's another one. Have you ever made a gingerbread house? I've never made a gingerbread house.
Yeah, my mom worked at a museum growing up, the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan, and
you guys used to do gingerbread houses?
Yeah, they do like a gingerbread exhibition thing for we do these camp things. So yeah, I've actually done a surprising amount of gingerbread houses. Really? I probably in the top 2 percentile of fucking human men that have made gingerbread houses in America.
Humble brag over here.
Weird. I mean, I'm not excited about it. Fucking most people have made one, maybe,
Yeah.
in school, but I ended up having to make possibly 10 or 12 in my life. So
Jesus. Well, so these date back to the Middle Ages also. It was a thing that bakers would do to advertise. They do these big elaborate designs and shapes and houses and stuff and put it up and be like, oh yes, it's edible. You can have it. It's delicious. but you can't have that one.
Hey, look how beautiful this is. Now break it apart and eat it.
Yeah. So they would do that for like people. People would order them like for their house in like during the holidays. They'd be like,
Make a version of our house out of gingerbread.
I don't know if it would be their probably maybe
I get probably, yeah.
and then they'd put it in their house and like nobody would eat it. It would just be the gingerbread
And
house.
it would get
for the
real
thing.
stale, and then you at a certain point, like in like July,
You, like,
they're
touch
"Why
it
the
and it just
fuck do we
cracks."
Still have this?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. We paid a lot of money for it. I don't want to just get rid of it. I'm like, what the fuck?
So yeah, it's festivals and fairs and all that stuff. It was like a really big thing, and that's really about it for gingerbread houses. I mean, we could go into it, but I mean,
No, they're stupid.
we're getting to
It's a stupid thing to do.
we're getting to the end of the line here on our Christmas tradition.
This is I wanna mention before we even get to the end here. This is our last episode of the season, as in season 1. We have been working on the show now for a year.
nearly.
Yeah, since from the time we first started recording and making attempts to record and figure stuff out,
Beginning of March of 24 is when we started.
So we figured it would be a good, this being the last episode of the Christian calendar year, to to wrap the first season, because the next run that we make coming up in the new year will have some upgrades and some features and some other things that we're excited about. But it has been a really fucking long year, and it's been a difficult first season to get off the ground. So I think at this point we're starting to get a little tired.
I am tired.
I am tired.
So, okay, the last one we're going to do. Christmas lights. Lights on the trees, lights on the houses, lights on fucking everything, right?
Yeah.
So, in 1882, there was a gentleman named Edward Hibbert Johnson, right? And this guy was
His name's Eddie H.J.
it's Eddie H.J., yeah. This guy was like an engineer, a businessman, sort of visionary type dude, right? He had already, previous to 1882, so in 1871, this man, Edward H.J., had hired Thomas Edison, who at the time was 24-year-old.
Yeah, still hireable at that point.
Yeah, inventor, he was already inventing stuff. He was a consultant for the automatic telegraph company.
Fucking those Edison in full Wizard of Oz swing,
Yeah.
where he's just like pitching snake oil and being like, "Look at my new invention, electricity."
Yeah. So he had hired Edison, but Edison was like so dedicated, and like I have a lot of things bad I can say about Edison.
Yeah,
But,
he's a fucking piece of shit.
but for what it's worth, the dude was a smart and dedicated guy. So give the devil his due. So Johnson was like so impressed with like the dedication that Edison worked with that when Edison left him to go start a new company, he actually followed Edison, and he would sort of like take Edison's ideas. He was the guy who knew how to capitalize on them, right? Edison's young at the time, didn't really know how to sell shit. He just knew how to come up with ideas, and he was smart enough with, engineering side of things that Johnson was really the guy who would like when Edison invented the phonograph, Johnson took that on tour and charged crowds to like get people excited. And like when Edison patented the light bulb, nobody really knew what the light bulb would be worth. Like there wasn't electrification, like we didn't have electric grids and like house to house and to house, so that was still like far away. So Johnson got a lot of people to invest. He invested a bunch, and they formed Edison Lamp Company to sell these bulbs, right? So at some point, Eddie H.J. has this idea. He had sort of...
You ever think about, that story where Edison spent like months and years trying hundreds and thousands of different materials for the light bulb? And like he tried things like grass and cotton and shit like that to see if electricity would make it glow. Do you ever think about how now that you're an adult and you think about that story, that sounds dumber than fuck? And if that's true, he's a fucking moron.
Jesus. So stupid.
Oh, let's see if electricity will light up this rock. Dumb piece of shit.
I guess fake it till you make it. Huh? Well, so Johnson had this idea, right? So we're at a time, we're, late 1800s. And as we went through before, the Christmas tree thing is sort of catching on. It's getting to be a big thing. The White House was already putting up a Christmas tree, each Christmas season. And this thing, like the way that they would decorate the Christmas tree was obviously tinsel and stuff like that. But people had started putting candles on the Christmas tree, like to make it festive and make it look pretty and stuff.
Sounds horrifically dangerous.
It's a pretty fucking big fire hazard, that's for sure.
Let's get this dry stick covered in pine resin and then put candles on it.
So Johnson saw an opportunity, and he, at Edison's shop, set up a tree by on the street window, and he wired red, white, and blue light bulbs, strung them all together around it, and put the tree on a pedestal, like a revolving pedestal, and had like a little generator powering these lights. And this was like fucking blew people's minds.
I mean, you picture him plugging that in for the first time, and all you can hear is like da hoo do re,
and it's
snow's falling.
And what's hilarious is like, think about how many lights are on your Christmas tree.
Yeah, it was hundreds and hundreds.
This is 80 fucking lights.
Yeah.
You know
but
what I mean?
People in the street are walking past and they stop, and people in traffic stop and they look.
Oh my
and see
God!
this
It was
thing
like
lit
it
up.
was like
what?
One of the biggest like reported on things. One of the biggest photographs taken. It was like this big fucking thing. Like there's a thing from the Detroit Post and Tribute. Quote: "It was brilliantly lighted with ... 80 lights in all." Encased in these dainty glass eggs and about equally divided between red, white, and blue. One can hardly imagine anything prettier. It was a fucking immediate fucking bombshell.
That's pretty
success.
cool. I like how people are like, oh, fucking Christmas lights, yeah, right away.
So by this is in 18. Oh fuck.
18. Oh fuck.
I don't have the exact date. This is in the late 1800s though. So Johnson turned this into like a tradition. Every year he would do another tree, and he'd have more lights, more colors, more, just like, at one point it was 120 bulbs on this dazzling tree. Oh my.
God, people in the past were real fucking simple assholes, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, look at these light bulbs. Dude, we got fucking crazy space alien robots that fly around now.
Well, and what's crazy is, so like at the time, because again, electricity's not like widely available yet. So these lights were not fucking cheap at all. A string of 16 vaguely flame-shaped bulbs sitting in brass sockets the size of shot glasses sold for about $12, which in today's money is about $350.
God damn.
For 16 lights.
You know, it never occurred
That's
to
in
me.
1900.
It never occurred to me. God, I must be stupid. That fucking the Christmas lights are shaped a little bit like a flame. That never popped into my head.
Yeah,
Never.
you're right.
Probably because we run them on strings upside down, so that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, right. So around this time, President Cleveland put electric lights on the White House tree. By 1914, a 16-foot string cost just $1.75. So, that's a giant. I mean, $12 to $1.75 in 14 years. And so,
Because I figured I ain't nobody paying fucking $300 for lights on their shit.
so by the 1930s, these fucking things are everywhere.
Also, you got to kind of figure they're reusable, so it's not like
that's
fucking
true.
you're getting repeat investors.
That's true. I wonder, dude, can you imagine? Somebody's got to have like original, like still have those lights. What those fucking things must be worth now?
Oh, yeah.
Like the original fucking lights from Edison's shop.
I don't know. That's an interesting question. Museum stuff is like, from my experience, as a museum owner, but in my experience, the fucking historical artifacts kind of fluctuate in value. You anticipate that like as time goes on, just because it's older, it would be worth more. But it's not. It has a lot to do with like the economy of the time.
Well, it has to do with what my thought is that there's some fucking idiot billionaire out there who's got a Christmas boner.
Yeah,
that's like, I have to own them. I'll pay you millions. So
Yeah, oh yeah,
Either
yeah. I
way.
guess the eBay kind of economy.
Yeah, if it's
is
going to
really
like
good.
Smithsonian or something like
You know,
that,
like
then
Japanese investors
Yeah.
that'll pay like $25,000 for a baseball cap from fucking Indy 395
But yeah, I mean,
or whatever.
listen, even if it gets lent out to a museum, if it gets lent out to the Smithsonian or the Louvre or whatever, they're just borrowing it for all intents and purposes. You still own it, and the value of those things is still high. The only thing is there's a very small number of people who are going to pay the value of that thing. You
That's
know what
true.
I mean? And
Yeah.
so it sort of boils down to that. But
Yeah, like I'm constantly depressed that my comic book collection didn't get sold at the fucking beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
oh god,
Dude, it's like legitimately, I'd have made $1 million.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
I mean, it was
sucks.
20 years ago, but like
Yeah,
if like the initial purchase, like so like when the Avengers came out, if my dad had sold all of the fucking Fantastic Fours and Spider-Mans and all the fucking 60s comic books that I've now got, he would have made roughly like $800,000.
Jesus.
Yeah. But as it is now, the culture is so fucking saturated with all that shit.
Yeah.
I probably walk like 10 grand.
Still not bad.
I'm still gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna carry rotten paper with me
Yeah,
forever.
right.
Hey, if anybody here's listening and they're comic book collectors, send me a message.
So, by the way, today, an estimated 150 million light sets are sold in America every year.
That's a lot.
They light 80 million homes and consume 6% of the nation's electrical load every December.
Holy shit.
6%. So,
I officially will never feel bad about using too much energy again.
right. Well, and then obviously it's now you've also got, strands of lights being co-opted for other holidays, you've got fucking Halloween lights and
yeah.
orange lights for Halloween.
All that
Fucking-
shit.
Yeah. Some people put red, white, and blue lights up for fucking 4th of July. There's all that stuff.
Pink lights for Thanksgiving, or no, for Easter. Pink lights for Easter. Pink.
Although
is
I
an
feel
Easter
like
thing, right?
I feel like so the article that I got that it said it's 6% of the electrical load every December. That article was from 2016. So I feel like now it's probably less with like the proliferation of LEDs that suck way less energy. So
Yeah, we live in such a weird time where like the technology has evolved so quickly that if you think of 2016, that's not even 10 years ago. We have an entire different mechanism for lighting things now. It's a different technology.
Yeah.
We're talking about Edison. Edison would have no fucking idea how this shit works.
We're talking about 100 years from 1900 to when Edison was first like patenting the light bulb, shortly before 1900 to now. We've had what, 120, 130 years
Of those exact items, not changing hardly at all, except to be a little more smaller and
Right.
like more, but
Right.
the same
Well,
mechanism.
there were some changes. You have filament bulbs and halogen bulbs and all these
but like
neon.
the same mechanism of power running through
Right.
like a filament
Right.
essentially. And now we've got a completely different digital enterprise that is way stronger and runs cheaper.
Lasts
like,
way longer, is way cheaper on electricity, is just completely different. But yeah, it kind of makes you wonder what's going to be here in 120 years.
I mean, if the speed of technology changing right now is any indication, I mean, just like think of how crazy the past 20 years have been just for cell phone technology. If there's any indication of that, we have no concept of what 100 years from now would look like.
No.
They would be, I mean, we haven't, literally sci-fi madness, or we're all dead. There's another one of those.
That is a possibility.
I'm
But,
hoping it's just eternal sandwiches and fuck robots.
well, on that very optimistic note, that is the end of the Christmas traditions that we are going to share with you today.
All right.
That wraps that up. So,
And that wraps up the 2024 Delete Everything podcast season.
yeah, 21 episodes this year.
If you listened all the way through, thank you for tuning in. And we got some more cool shit going on in this next year.
We got a lot of stuff that we want to roll out in what we're calling season 2. So
Yes.
so look for some merch, look for some more social media stuff. Look for
We're adding a producer coming up in the next year. I think that he's never going to be on the podcast probably. Maybe he will. I don't know. But we've got somebody who's going to be doing like sound optimization and working music with us, and that's really fucking cool. So we'll have some stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So, with that being said, thank you. If you liked this episode, the best way that you can tell us that you did like it is that That's not
The best,
That sounded
the best how you is can do yes.
If you like that episode and you want to tell us, the best way you can do that is to get on whatever platform you're listening to, give us 5 stars, leave us a review, say whatever you want. We say it all the time. You can say anything you want. You can tell us what you liked. You can tell us what you didn't like. You can
Actually,
say,
hey, do a favor. Tell me what your favorite episode this year was.
there you go.
Yeah.
You can say what your favorite episode is. You can say where you live and how you found us. You can say, I don't know, Peeny Vagini. You could say...
Beanie Vagini is my catchphrase.
It's Riley's catchphrase.
That's a good one.
If you've been listening.
I saw something recently. Oh, do you know that guy? I'm sure we've shared this guy's videos a bunch of times. It's like an old Mexican man that makes his own like handmade T-shirts on Instagram. And he's like, you are a gay. Send this shirt to anyone that is a gay.
Yes.
What the fuck was it? I watched this video. He's talking about something. Gladiator 2.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, if Gladiator 2 was not gay, they would have used the number 2, but instead they used 2 peeny wangs. I was like, yeah, that guy gets it.
Jesus Christ. Well, at any rate, yes, you can leave us a rating, leave us a review, say whatever you want on our review or on your review.
Patrick, what was your favorite episode this year?
Boy. Without having them in front of me to sort of talk about, it's a toss-up. I really loved Fad Diets.
Fad Diets was a lot of fun.
I really loved...
Shout out to Javon.
And shout out Javon Bartley. I really loved...
Get him back.
He wants to be back.
Yeah, let's get him back in the next season. We got guests coming up next season.
I really loved the Game Night Tragedies.
Game Night Tragedies was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Jay was a great guest too.
Yeah, those were both up there on my faves.
Cool. I think my favorite was Freaks.
Freaks was a good one.
I would have figured Game Night or late night horror hosts would have been my favorite because that's like my favorite topic.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, I liked it.
They were all great.
It was
a
lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Bunch.
But I just the way that Freaks developed and the way we had like there was like this emotional moment. We were talking about one of them that was like fucking impactful. It was heavy. It was the first time that we'd done anything that wasn't strictly comedy and actually had some like gravitas to it. I thought that was cool.
A little sort of sort of nuance in terms of emotion. It was like, this is funny, but this is tragic.
Yeah.
Dude, it's been a great rollout season 1. So I'm pleased with it. If you guys are too, please review us, give us a 5-star rating, hit us up if you want to, send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. DeleteEverythingPodcast@gmail.com. We also have social media, so you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Threads. You can find us on all those at Delete Everything Podcast. And if you really want to support the show, if that's not enough for you, just leaving the ratings and reviews, and you're like, I need to hear more of these guys, and I need to hear some stupid shows. If you heard last week's bonus episode, that was a Patreon. This week, coming up on Thursday, we'll have another bonus episode that's a Patreon. So they're shorter, they're more conversational. There's not like a lot of research and info. There's a little bit. Usually
it's
we
just
have
us sticking around.
Well, yeah, I mean, usually we have some sort of topic that we come in with, but it's just, I don't know. It's hard to describe. They're just fun.
The Patreons are like, we kind of come up with the topic. We've got a list of stupid topics that we can just kind of dick around with, or we sit down and like, what's this one going to be about? I don't know. Let's talk about dog hats.
Well, yeah, like today was just an article that I was reading yesterday or the day before. So,
yeah, sure it was.
We're going to be dropping another one of those on you. And if you want to subscribe to our Patreon, you can find us at patreon.com/deleteeverythingpodcast. We'd love to see you there. So with that being said, Merry Christmas, and we will see you in the new year.
Good night, podcast listeners. Good night, Patrick.
Good night.
Good night, 2024.
Hey, you know what the best part about this outro is?
Huh?
We actually have one more that we're going to drop before the end of the year.
What?
All right, bye.
Bye. Oh, God.